In 2001, Jay-Z and Nas were at the center of one of the biggest beefs in rap history.
If he's going to come at me, or if I'm going to go after someone at that level, I'll need to give it my best.
If you ask any rap fan, you'll get the same answer. Nas destroyed Jay-Z. The guy was so disoriented that he went live on the radio to apologize and say he was backing out of the beef. Today I'm going to tell you the story behind Ether by Nas. I'm Guilherme, and you're watching Decipher Hits. In hip-hop, everyone thinks they're the best, but there's only one rapper with so much respect in the game that he's able to mention even Eminem in a beef and still make Slim Shady think twice before responding.
I wanted to ask you, what did you think about the comment that Nas made about the song you did with Jay-Z and Ether?
That Nas made?
Yes, and Ether?
My name is Bessa, and I'm out of this.
But what if I told you that in 2001, Jay-Z had the audacity to attack this very guy?
You guys don't want to mess with me? Ask Nas, he doesn't want to mess with me.
Nas's response was devastating. The track Ether. And he really proved it.
Then I dropped the Ether napalm bomb and the whole crew scattered like cockroaches. And now there's that radio station over there crying because everyone agreed he lost. He lost, and they played his songs like he was dead, like it was Jay-Z's funeral.
But after all, why was the track Ether so devastating? And what really caused this war of titans? To understand that, we need to go back a little in time. New York, April 19, 1994. The young Nasir Jones, better known by his stage name Nas, only 20 years old, had just released his debut album, Illmatic, with tracks like It Ain't Hard to Tell, If I Ruled the World, and New York State of Mind, which, by the way, we've already broken down in the channel's members area. The album introduced Nas as a new kind of MC, a rapper who came from the streets but had a vocabulary worthy of a Harvard professor. Nas's ability to write lyrics with deep stories, realistic dialogues, and extremely complex rhymes turned the hip-hop world upside down. At the time, no one knew it was possible for someone to put such intelligent poetry into a rap lyric. The result of this was that Illmatic came to be considered by many, and still is to this day, one of the best rap albums in history. And Nas, still young, came to be recognized as one of the most skilled and competitive MCs in New York. But keeping that throne wouldn't be easy at all. In a short time, the competition would become even more intense. Just 5 months after Illmatic, on September 13, 1994, the rapper The Notorious B.I.G., who was 22 years old at the time, also released his debut album, Ready to Die, with hits like Juicy
I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper
and Big Papa. The album stole the spotlight that had been on Nas until then. And in July 1995, The Source, one of the most important hip-hop magazines, crowned The Notorious B.I.G. the King of New York, a title that Big wore with great pride. But regardless of commercial success, Nas felt that his debut album was much better, and decided to defend his throne on his second studio album, It Was Written, in 1996. On the track The Message, he sent subliminal shots at Big, saying,
Let me tell y'all something. There's only one life, love, so there can only be one king.
Still, in 1996, it was time for the newest MC from New York to debut on the scene, Jay-Z. At first, Jay-Z didn't seem to care about the competition for the throne and actually wanted to play the good neighbor card with the city's rappers. For that, he made a point of inviting several rappers, both big and small, whom he admired, to participate in tracks on his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. Examples of this are the tracks Can't Knock the Hustle with Mary J. Blige,
You can't knock the hustle.
and Brooklyn's Finest with the Notorious B.I.G. By the way, it was during the recording of this song that Jay-Z met Big. From then on, he stopped being just a fan and became a great friend of his. But there was another rapper that Jay-Z admired a lot and also really wanted on his album, Nas. Jay-Z's idea was for Nas to be on his track Dead Presidents, but Nas turned down the invitation. Then, Jay-Z asked if Nas could at least appear in the music video, but Nas turned that down too. Even so, Jay-Z took a part from a Nas song called The World Is Yours and sampled it in the final version of Dead Presidents.
But never falling 6 feet deep. I'm out for presidents to represent me.
On July 2, 1996, Nas released the song The Message, and in it he said,
"A Lexus with a TV is the bare minimum."
At the time, the Lexus with a TV was Jay-Z's trademark. It was the car he showed off in several music videos, including the track Dead Presidents. Nas's idea was simply to say that he wanted to get top quality stuff. Nothing but the best. But Jay-Z took the line as an attack, as he himself admitted in this 2026 interview when commenting on the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, which, by the way, we've also explained here on the channel.
Wow, I think this had been building up just like my relationship with Nas. Yeah, it didn't happen at Summer Jam. That happened, the Lexus and the TVs, the bare minimum, whatever. It was a bunch of things that led to this point.
At the end of 1996, Jay-Z met Nas's then-girlfriend, Carmen Bryan, at a party in New York. At the time, Carmen and Nas already had a 2-year-old daughter and had been together for 4 years. Jay-Z knew that. Carmen had just had a fight with Nas and, as revenge, decided to get with Jay-Z. Their affair lasted quite a while, so much so that she even got pregnant by Jay-Z while she was still with Nas, but ended up losing the baby. At the time, no one else knew about this, but as the years went by, the truth started to come out. In a 2017 interview, Carmen herself ended up confessing everything in detail.
I met Jay-Z right after he released Reasonable Doubt, so I met him through a friend at a party. And the next day, Nas and I had a big fight, and he made me angry. So I thought, let me call Jay-Z.
On March 9, 1997, the legendary The Notorious B.I.G. passed away. And on November 4, just 8 months after Big's death, Jay-Z released the song The City Is Mine. You can tell what he meant just from the title, right? In one line, Jay-Z sings, "I'm the focus, just like Big at his peak. And let it be known, huh? But the city is mine." Nas thought that was a huge sign of disrespect, and it really was, man. For a guy who called himself a friend. He didn't even wait for Big's body to get cold, and he was already there claiming the throne for himself. In 1999, Nas released his third album, I Am, and on the track We Will Survive, he throws indirect shots at Jay-Z while paying tribute to Big, saying,
Peace to your daughter and your newborn son.
It was fun making songs just to see your response. But now there's no more competition. And these guys are wrong for using your name in vain and still claim to be the king of New York? That's not the point. In 2000, Jay-Z responds with a really low blow. On the track, Is That Your Chick? On rapper Memphis Bleek's track, Jay-Z throws indirect shots at Nas, saying,
"Oh, you better check her, dog.
She keeps begging me not to use protection so she can have more of my kids and say they're yours. Look at how dirty she is. And you married her? Damn, now I'm definitely going to use protection." Remember, at that time, no one knew about the affair, so Jay-Z didn't care if people understood the line, as long as Nas understood and was hit right where it hurts. On November 21, 2000, Nas teamed up with the duo Mobb Deep and 6 other rappers and released the track The Bridge 2001. In it, Nas throws indirect shots not only at Jay-Z, but also at his whole crew. He disses them saying, "Laser AR-15 doors come down. I'm going to break your jaw. Your whole team will end up in a coffin. Your Minna, your homie, your lieutenant, your godfather, everyone will be found." Even though things were heating up, until the end of the year 2000, all this beef was still just in the form of indirect shots, subliminal attacks. But all of that would change the following year, June 28, 2001. On that date, the Hot 97 Summer Jam was taking place. This was one of the biggest hip-hop events in the United States. Promoted by the radio station Hot 97, the Summer Jam was like the Super Bowl of rap at the time. In that edition, Jay-Z was not only the main artist, but he also managed to bring the greatest artist of all time, Michael Jackson, to take part in the show. This demonstrates the influence Jay-Z had already gained in the industry by 2001. However, that wasn't the most memorable event of that night. Right at the very beginning of the show, Jay-Z performed his new song called Takeover for the first time. The song was still unfinished, but the few lines he had ready were already enough to cause chaos in the hip-hop world. First, he started by attacking the duo Mobb Deep, more specifically Prodigy, calling him a ballerina, while showing on the big screen a photo that Prodigy's grandmother took of him at 13 years old, dressed as Michael Jackson.
I don't care if you're from Mobb Deep, I shoot at gangs. You little shit, I have stacks of money bigger than you. When I was dealing back in 1988, you were a ballerina. I have pictures, I saw you.
But the real spark came at the end, when Jay-Z, for the first time, attacked Nas openly and directly.
Don't mess with me. Ask Nas. He doesn't want to mess with me.
That's when the public officially found out that Jay-Z and Nas had problems with each other. But as I said, that wasn't the final version of the song Takeover. The third verse, the one that was directly against Nas, hadn't been written yet. Jay-Z was basically throwing out bait to see if Nas would bite. And Nas did exactly that. A month later, on August 1st, 2001, Nas went to Hot 97 and dropped a hard-hitting freestyle, where he attacked not only several members of Rockefeller, but also Jay-Z himself. I tear up the highway, cross Memphis with bags of money, stop in Philadelphia, order a plate, and devour beans real quick. The words highway, Memphis, bag of money, and beans in English are all names or references to rappers from Rockefeller. Freeway, Memphis Bleak, Bleak, 8 Money Bags, and Beanie Siegel. And then he continues. I bring the top back and remove the fake king of New York. You show off and I make money when you use samples of my voice. Jay-Z used samples of Nas's voice in several songs, not just in Dead Presidents, but also in songs like Rap Gang, Crack Gang, which uses a sample from Represent.
Somehow the rap game reminds me of the crack game.
Yeah. Stop, niggas.
So, in this line, Nas brags about making money every time Jay-Z uses his voice in his songs, just like Eazy-E did with Dr. Dre.
Basically, you can criticize me as much as you want, but I'm still going to get paid. That's why I say Dre's day is just Eazy's payday. And that's a fact.
By the way, we've already explained this beef here on the channel. But the hardest part of the freestyle is when Nas says, Nas drew your blueprint. Who are you fooling? Blueprint means architectural plan or design project, but it's also the name of Jay-Z's next album that was about to come out. Nas was saying that he was Jay-Z's biggest influence, and the one responsible for influencing his style and career. And in the next line he says, you're the H in ISO, M in ISO. Definitely a fake. A rapper version of Cisco, making reference to the ISO language created by Snoop Dogg and adapted by Jay-Z in his song H to the ISO. H in ISO, V in ISA. In this language, you ignore the is and only take the other letters to decipher what's being said. In this case, Jay-Z was spelling out Hova, which is one of his nicknames. But what Nas does is say, he's H in Izzo, M in Izzo, spelling out homo, as in homosexual. Besides that, he uses the comparison with Cisco, the singer of the song Thong Song, to reinforce this accusation, since at that time, a lot of people believed that Cisco was homosexual. The freestyle inspired Jay-Z to finish the last verse of Takeover, where he goes all out against Nas. And on September 11, 2001, when Jay-Z released his album The Blueprint, the world finally heard the full version of this diss for the first time. Takeover was produced by Kanye West and samples the track 5 to 1 by The Doors. In this diss track, Jay-Z mocks Nas's discography, saying,
4 albums in 10 years, nigga?
4 albums in 10 years, man? Let's do the math. That means, let's see. 2 of your albums were okay, the other was terrible, and only 1 was Illmatic. That means you make 1 good album every 10 years, which is pretty ridiculous. The okay albums that Jay-Z was referring to were It Was Written, from 1996 and I Am, from 99, which, even though they sold well, weren't as acclaimed as the first album. And the terrible album is a reference to Nasir Nostradamus, from 99, which was considered by many to be Nas's weakest album at the time. In Takeover, Jay-Z also claims that Nas's voice was sampled and amplified to be used more intelligently. So yes, I sampled and amplified your voice. You were using it wrong, you made a hit verse, and I made a hit song. And in the end, Jay-Z decides to make a threat. If Nas responded, Jay-Z would reveal dark secrets about him. Today, we already know it was about the fact that Jay-Z slept with Nas's girlfriend. But at the time, that threat was what ignited the beef and left a lot of people eager to find out what was coming next. You're going to learn to respect the king. Don't try to be the next one to show up on that Summer Jam screen, because you know who did you know what to you know who. But let's keep this between you and me for now. But Nas wasn't intimidated, and on December 4, 2001, Jay-Z's birthday, Nas dropped the nuclear bomb. Ether means ether. In an interview, Nas explained the choice of this title, saying, "I was told a long time ago that ghosts and spirits don't like the fumes of ether, and I just wanted to affect Jay-Z with my weapon and reach his soul." And that's exactly what he did. Everyone knows the version of Ether that came out on Nas's fifth album, Stillmatic, from 2001, and that was produced by Ron Rumble. What few people know is that this wasn't the original version. The original was produced by Swizz Beatz, and it was much heavier, more aggressive and violent. To give you an idea, at the time, the singer Aaliyah had just passed away in a tragic plane crash, and in one of the lines, Nas mourned her death and said that it should have been Jay-Z and his partner Dame Dash instead of Aaliyah, as Large Professor, Nas's mentor, said in this interview. "I was there when Swizz made the original Ether."
Swizz made the original Ether. Swizz made the original Ether. It was over that beat that Nas originally rapped. It was faster. There was a lot more noise and some variations. I know you've heard about the rhyme, Dame Dash, plane crash, and all that. I'm sorry, Aaliyah. It's a shame it was you in that crash. It should have been Jay-Z and Dame Dash.
Unfortunately, there aren't many records of that first version, much less a recording, since Nas's label at the time, Columbia Records, thought the lyrics were so violent that they refused to produce the album The Illmatic, as long as the track Ether was at that level of aggressiveness. If you've already watched our video Decoding in the Club, you'll notice that this behavior made sense for Columbia at the time, since they had just dropped 50 Cent's contract after he got shot 9 times. The label was still shaken up by all of that. That's when Nas toned down the lyrics of Ether so it could be approved to go on the album The Illmatic. In other words, the diss track that crushed Jay-Z is actually a softened version, man. Imagine if he had released the original, but by changing the lyrics, Nas felt that the beat created by Swizz Beatz no longer fit his rhymes as well. Now he needed something denser and darker. That's when Ron Brous comes into the picture, a producer who was barely known at the time. At the time, Brous had produced a new beat and was looking for rappers to whom he could give it. And ironically, the first person he tried to contact was Kayambu Joshua, Jay-Z's agent, but they didn't like the beat. It was actually Nas's team who gave Ron Brous a chance, as he said in an interview. At the time, people used to say, "Man, you don't get on a Nas album unless you're a famous producer." By chance, my manager worked at a building where several record labels were located, like Rockefeller and Murder Incorporated. One day, he ran into Nas's travel agent and begged her to give him the beat, and she did. Brous had nothing to do with that beef. He just wanted to make money with his work, and he already said he was surprised when he found out Nas would use the beat in such a heavy diss track. After that, I got a phone call saying, "Hey, Nas wants you to come to the studio to hear what he did." So I thought, cool, alright. I thought I was going to hear a regular Nas song. I didn't know it was going to be Ether. In the studio, he was super calm. It was just him and the sound engineer in a chill environment. He was eating fruit and said, "Hey, play that song for him." Then I heard the Fi Jay-Z and I was like, wow. I made the beat, but I wasn't the one who put that in there. The line Fi Jay-Z is actually a sample of Tupac's voice from the song F Act Friends from 1996. Understand there's no black man like me. Fuck Jay-Z. In this track, Tupac attacked Jay-Z simply because he was friends with the notorious B.I.G., his biggest enemy at the time. By the way, the gunshots you hear at the beginning of Ether pay tribute to Who Shot Ya, a big track we've already broken down here. Throughout the track, Nas interpolates several of Jay-Z's lyrics to attack him with his own rhymes. Like when he says, "Who's the best? Pac, Nas, or Big? There's no best." This is a reference to Jay-Z's 1997 track, Where I'm From, where he lists the 3 best rappers in his opinion: Big, himself, and even Nas. And they argue all day about who's the best MC. Big, Jay-Z, or Nas. But in Nas's version, he swaps out Jay-Z for Tupac, removing Jay-Z from the top 3. The chorus of Ether itself is built around the phrase, "I will not lose," which is a reference to Jay-Z's song, You Don't Know.
Motherfucker will not lose.
Nas also mocks the chorus of Takeover while Jay-Z raps. Rockefeller, we run rap. Nas imitates this cadence, saying, Rockefeller gets shot and killed quickly. We see this strategy in several of the most destructive diss tracks in history, like Tupac himself did, mocking Big's flow and Hit 'Em Up. There's already a video about this beef on the channel. In one of the lines from Ether, Nas says, I've been running this game since 1991. I'm the most authentic. Name a rapper I haven't influenced. Man, that might sound presumptuous, but actually those are facts. Since Nas came onto the scene back in 1991, he alone has inspired many of the greatest rappers in history. Just to give you a few examples, in the song I Gave You Power, Nas uses a figure of speech called personification to write all the lyrics from the perspective of a gun. This inspired Tupac to write Me and My Girlfriend in 1996, where he also uses personification throughout the entire song, this time referring to the gun as his girlfriend.
All I need in this life is sin.
And Tupac's version, in turn, inspired Jay-Z's song All Three Bunny and Clyde. Another example, Nas was the first rapper to put a child version of himself on his album cover, influencing the notorious B.I.G. to do the same thing on his debut album. Something that also inspired several other rappers over the decades. All this without mentioning the flow, the writing style, the storytelling, and the rhymes that Nas developed, literally shaping 90s hip-hop. Just look at how Jay-Z himself adapted his rhyme style to Nas's and sampled the rapper on several tracks. Even Eminem has admitted that at the beginning of his career, he sounded a lot like Nas and had to change his style to become more authentic. Speaking of Eminem, on the track Eater, Nas makes 2 references to him. In one of the lines, Nas says to Jay-Z, You're a fan, in your feelings, a stan. Making reference to the 2000 track Stan, I'm your biggest fan. In this song, Eminem tells the story of Stan, an obsessed fan who's willing to commit horrible crimes just to meet him. By the way, we've already broken down that track here on the channel. This line from Eater marked the first time any artist used the word stan as a synonym for obsessed fan. After that, this meaning became part of hip-hop slang, and even ended up being added to the Oxford Dictionary in 2017. That's yet another proof of Nas's influence. And the other part where Nas mentions Eminem and Eater is when he says, and Eminem destroyed you on your own song. Here, Nas is referencing the 2001 track Renegade. The song was by Jay-Z featuring Eminem, but Eminem's performance was so powerful that he basically overshadowed Jay-Z's presence on that track.
Now who's the king of these rude, ludicrous, lucrative, put the youth in hysterics, using his music to steer it?
8 years later, Jay-Z himself acknowledged Eminem's standout performance on his song Stars Born, saying, The white kid flourished after Dr. Dre endorsed him. His flow on Renegade was just too good. I have to give him props. But, going back to Jay-Z's burial, in Enter the Eater, Nas drops several bars, accusing Jay-Z of being a cheap imitator with no style of his own, who takes other people's rhymes to get ahead. How many of Big's rhymes are still going to come out of those fat lips? You tried to be on every one of my classics. In fact, it's one thing for a rapper to use another rapper's rhymes intelligently in a diss track. The idea is basically to turn the tables on him, like Nas is doing in Eater. That's different from what Jay-Z consistently did throughout his career, taking the rhymes and style of giants like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and of course Nas himself. But what annoyed Nas the most was how many of Big's rhymes Jay-Z stole over the years. And look, it wasn't just a few.
When the Remy's in the system, ain't no telling.
When the Remy's in the system, ain't no telling when I'm
If I want some ass, gon' blast squeeze first, ask questions last.
Squeeze first, ask questions last, cause when I pull I always
See some ladies tonight that should be having my baby. Baby.
How you living, Biggie? So ladies tonight, they should be hanging with Jay-Z. Jay-Z.
All of this just to, in the end, still brag about taking the throne after Big's death, whom Jay-Z called a friend. That's why in Ether, Nas also says,
Blueprint first, Big is your man.
First, Big is your partner. Then you have the audacity to say you're better than him because you won't let the great veteran rest in peace. If all that humiliation wasn't enough, Nas still had the coup de grace to deliver to Jay-Z. If at Summer Jam, Jay-Z was called to be the main artist in the 2002 edition, do you know who was called? That's right, Nas. And look, he wouldn't show any mercy. Nas's idea was to simulate a cruel lynching of Jay-Z on stage, just like we used to do back in the day during the old tradition of beating Judas in effigy, you know?
I planned a big show. I was really going to crucify Jay-Z at the Hot 97 show.
But the Hot 97 team forbade it, and Nas felt censored. He realized that Hot 97 showed some favoritism toward Jay-Z, and after that, he didn't want to participate in the 2002 Summer Jam anymore. Anyway, the nuclear bomb of Ether would still bring much more destruction to Jay-Z's life. As I said, Nas released Ether on Jay-Z's 32nd birthday, December 4th, 2001. On that day, Jay-Z and his partner, Dame Dash, visited a nightclub in New York, and when they got there, guess which song the DJ decided to play? That's right, Ether. Rapper Ras Kass was there that night and has already described the humiliation. Check this out.
They played Ether at the club and Jay was furious, and I remember that. I remember he said, man, tell the DJ to turn that shit off, but the club was packed. And that's when I knew it was over, and the DJ didn't care at all, he just ignored it and played that shit. And then the club went wild, and that's when I knew that Nas had won.
Man, imagine Jay-Z going to celebrate his birthday at the club and getting roasted by Ether as a gift with everyone shouting, "Fuck Jay-Z!" Dude, he must have left there feeling crushed. That same night, Jay-Z went home and wrote a response track, Super Ugly.
I got myself a gun.
With the song ready, Jay-Z went to Hot 97 and gave the radio station exclusive access to a copy of Super Ugly before releasing it to anyone else. That way, Hot 97 would be the first place where people would hear Jay-Z's response. His idea was to turn this into a big media event. In Jay-Z's mind, this would be great for him, since he believed he would have public support. It would also benefit the radio station, attracting a large audience, as his feud with Nas was the hottest topic then. Of course, Hot 97 loved the idea, set a date and time to premiere Super Ugly, and kept announcing the big event in commercials.
Jay-Z's response today at 3 o'clock, tune in, it's about to start.
And the whole city tuned in.
If you were in New York at 3 p.m. that day, you had to tune in to Hot 97.
And on December 11, 2001, exactly at 3 p.m., the song Super Ugly premiered on Hot 97. Man, people were really expecting a strong response. But you know when someone is so desperate that they go overboard and react in an embarrassing way? Well, that was Super Ugly. And in it, Jay-Z reveals that he hooked up with Nas's ex, and in one of the lines he mentions something so disgusting that I'm really going to have to make an effort here to censor what he said.
More in common. I came in your bed.
I finished in the backseat of your car and left condoms in your baby's car seat. Man, that's sickening. Only a twisted mind could think that would be a good comeback. Right after the broadcast, Hot 97 Radio ran a poll asking listeners who really won. The whole city of New York voted, and with 58% of the votes, they chose Nas as the winner of that beef. According to Angie Martinez, the host of Hot 97 Jay-Z showed up at the station right when she announced the result. And man, the situation was awkward.
But literally, while I was announcing that the winner was Nas, I could see out of the corner of my eye, through the window, Jay walking in. And and the winner is Nas.
Did you make eye contact or not?
I knew, I had heard that he wanted to come, but the timing made me uncomfortable.
But if you think Jay-Z's humiliation is over, hold on, there's still more to come. The next day, Jay-Z went to Hot 97 again, and many people expected him to drop another diss track, especially because of how embarrassing the voting was. However, Jay-Z did exactly the opposite. He went there to apologize to Nas. Angie Martinez said that it was at that moment she realized Jay-Z was defeated. He showed up there all downcast, with none of the confidence he used to have. It turns out that, according to Jay-Z himself, his mother, Gloria Carter, was listening to Hot 97 when Super Ugly played, and she called him. Gloria said she thought that song was in terrible taste, and told her 32-year-old son to go to the radio stations, apologize, and end the feud. The following week, Nas visited Hot 97 and commented on what happened.
When a mother's love comes into play, it's over. That's it. There's no argument. It's done. So you respect that? I respect that. I respect that.
In the following years, Jay-Z and Nas still exchanged a few jabs, but nothing significant. The fire gradually died down, and the beef started to show their mutual growth and respect. So let's move forward to October 27, 2005. On that day, Jay-Z was the headlining artist at the Powerhouse Festival hosted by Power 105. And during the show, he invited Nas to come up on stage and perform with him. The two of them performed Dead Presidents by Jay-Z and The World Is Yours by Nas. The crowd went wild since no one expected to see these two together. After that, Nas and Jay-Z went on to collaborate on several tracks over the years, showing that maturity and respect are always the best way. Just like everything in Nas's career, the track Ether had a huge impact on rap culture. The song's title even became a verb. Today, when someone gets destroyed, whether in hip-hop or anything else in life, people over there say, "You got ethered," meaning you got owned. But the most important thing about this beef was showing that wisdom is a rapper's greatest weapon. And when we're talking about wisdom in rap, man, Nas is basically the Albert Einstein of this thing. You don't want to mess with him. At just 16 years old, the guy was already writing songs so smart that today they're still studied by Harvard professors. And at just 18 years old, Nas was already making songs so impactful that they would later be included in the Library of Congress because of their importance. The most famous of these songs is his classic New York State of Mind. We've already broken it down line by line in the VIP section of the channel. To watch, just click on the video that will appear here on the side and become a member of Decifa Hits. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you there. Nas would mumble to himself in front of the microphone as if he were shaping the flow he was going to use over the beat. As soon as the lyrics were ready, Nas told Premier to start recording and said he wanted to begin his verse as soon as the piano came in. Premier started the recorder and the tape began to roll.